Alaska his second time winning here. And in Montana, Steve Bullock, the incumbent governor, now defeating Steve Daines. Though the governor election ended up going to the GOP, the presidential election overwhelmingly to Donald Trump, and the House election to the GOP, the Senate election remains, is a pickup for the Democratic Party. Steve Bullock will win the state of Montana.
In this lesson, we're starting the Viper who's already up and running, and we'll learn how to taxi the runway and takeoff. Before we taxi out, though, let's set up a few more items that we might cover in the cold start lesson. Press spacebar when you're ready. On the altimeter, verify the current airfield altimeter setting of 30.04 inches mercury is set. And rotate the pressure setting knob with the mouse wheel, select the new setting if it becomes necessary. We also verify the altitude displayed on HUD matches the altitude on altimeter within plus or minus 75 feet. Barometric altitude is displayed on the scale on the right side of the HUD. Press spacebar to continue. Then, select between electric and pneumatic modes with the lever. Electric mode uses altitude determined by the central air data computer, while pneumatic uses pneumatic pressure sensed by the pitot-static system. These should read within plus or minus 75 feet of one another. Set it back to electric mode when you're done. Put simply, the altitude displayed on all sources should match with no significant errors. Press spacebar to continue. Now, set up your anti-collision, position, and formation lights as you desire. The formation lights, or slime lights, are low-intensity green lights that aid in close formation flying. Position lights are red and green lights to mark the left and the right sides of the aircraft. And the anti-collision light is the white strobe on the tail. Typically, all lights should be on and flashing for taxi and takeoff unless blackout conditions are necessary. When done, press spacebar. Time to set up your tunnel lights. The top three knobs on the interior landing panel control the intensity of the lettering of the panels themselves. The two console and instrument dials control floodlight with the left on the consoles and instrument panel. The malfunction indicator light switch sends the intensity of the caution and warning lights. You may also enable the flashlight at any time using the keyboard command left Alt and L. Experiment with these and press spacebar when ready to move on. Next, we'll verify the EGI knob is set to nav. This is done after the INES alignment is complete and we're ready to taxi the aircraft. It should already be set on this mission. Press spacebar to continue. Now we're ready to get moving. Press the nose wheel steering or air refueling disconnect button on your stick, or press the S key. This will enable nose wheel steering and allow you to control your path using the rudder pedals. The nose wheel steering and air refueling light right at the HUD should illuminate to indicate nose wheel steering is engaged. Press spacebar to continue. To get rolling, slowly increase the throttle just past idle until you have forward movement. Then return the throttle to idle. Gently test the brakes and nose wheel steering immediately after your aircraft begins to move forward. Press Z to steer left and X to steer right. Taxi forward and turn right for the taxi. You may also perform this check while parking the taxiway as we are now. Press spacebar. First, set the probe heat switch to probe heat. This should be done at least 2 minutes prior to takeoff if icing conditions exist. Delay selection of probe heat as long as possible prior to takeoff if icing is not expected to prevent overheat and damage to probe components. Next, verify the alt flap switch is set to normal. Then, just inboard the manual trim panel, check the needles on the trim indicators are centered. This is the final verification the trim settings are correct for takeoff but have not been inadvertently changed. Center them if you need to using the trim knobs or the trim controls on your stick. Press spacebar to continue. Now, verify the engine control switch is set to pry and the guard is down. Verify your speed brakes are closed and the canopy is closed and locked. The yellow handle should be down and the canopy warning light on the right eyebrow should be off. Press spacebar to continue. Set the store's configuration switch as required. In general, set Cat 1 for air-to-air loadouts without external wing tanks. Set Cat 3 for air-to-ground loadouts or any loadouts with external wing tanks. We have external fuel tanks with air-to-ground stores loaded, so set it to Cat 3. Press spacebar to continue. Next, we'll verify the external fuel tanks for feeding. Set the fuel quantity select knob to external wing and check the quantity. Wing external tanks should feed first and have lower quantity than an engine start, somewhere just below 2,400 pounds. If a centerline external tank were installed, it would feed first and we'd have to check its quantity instead. Press spacebar to continue. Set the fuel quantity select knob to internal wing and check the quantity. The internal wing tanks are fed from externals and should be full, or about 550 pounds. Press spacebar to continue. Now, set the fuel quantity select knob back to normal. This allows the automatic forward fuel transfer system, trap fuel warning, and bingo fuel warning to operate properly. Press spacebar to continue. Stow the targeting pod if installed by selecting the targeting pod control page on the MFD and selecting standby. This is done prior to takeoff and before landing to prevent foreign object damage to components. Press spacebar to continue. Then, lower the ejection safety lever. This arms the ejection seat and allows ejection when the ejection handle is pulled. This is delayed as long as possible to prevent inadvertent ejection on the ground. Egresses through other means is usually preferable. Press spacebar to continue. Last, check that the engine oil pressure is reading normal between 15 and 65 psi and all caution and warning lights are out. Press spacebar to continue. At this point, you're ready to take the runway. Go ahead and taxi out and turn left to line up in the central hub. Come to a stop and we'll run a quick lineup check and walk through the takeoff sequence. Okay, go forward until you line up with the runway and hold the brakes. Verify the parking brake is disengaged. The impact skid switch is set to impact skid. Just to prevent the brakes from locking up and blowing the tires, you can move to a forward takeoff and come to a stop quickly. Press spacebar to continue. This is going to go quickly, so describe the entire sequence and you'll run through it step by step. First comes the lineup check. You will keep the brakes held, run the engine up to 90% RPM, and check for normal indications on your engine instruments. You will release the brakes, increase throttle to full, and engage the afterburner. Maintain track down the runway using rudder pedals, Z and X. You will disengage the nose wheel steering about 70 knots when the rudder becomes effective. As you approach your takeoff speed, about 170 knots in this case, pull gently back on the stick to raise the nose about 10 degrees. You can use the gun cross and the pitch ladder in the HUD as a guide. The aircraft will become airborne and start to climb. Raise the landing gear while still below 300 knots, and then continue to fly the aircraft along the runway heading. If you're ready, let's go ahead and give it a try. I will talk you through it as we go. Press spacebar to continue. Okay, hold the brakes, W, and advance the throttle to 90% RPM. Check the engine instruments for hydraulic oil pressure warning light off, oil pressure between 25 and 65 psi, F-tip 935 degrees or less, hydraulic A and B pressure between 2850 and 3250 psi. Then release the brakes and advance the throttle to full. Now use gentle rudder inputs Z and X to maintain track down the runway. Disengage the nose wheel steering, S. We are approaching takeoff speed. Gently pull back on the stick to raise the nose about 10 degrees. Okay, we are airborne. Raise the landing gear, G. We will lose a little lift as we run into the ground. Continue to curve heavy and reduce the lift speed. Congratulations, you've just hit the mark.
Stub that one.
Sony is about to show us more first-party games, more third-party stuff. I mean, it is so
In
much
this
of
lesson, we'll go over the basics of landing an F-16 in visual flight rules conditions using a straight-in approach. This will also be useful later for the overhead brake and useful flight rules landing lessons. I have the lesson paused so we can set the aircraft up in preparation for the approach. Then we'll land the aircraft and shut it down. Press spacebar to continue. Start by checking your fuel quantity on the fuel quantity indicator. Enough fuel should be remaining to land safely, but too much fuel can lengthen the landing roll and make stopping the aircraft much more difficult. You're fine here, but you may want to burn some fuel up if you return for a mission early. Also, verify no red is visible on the indicator needles that indicate a fuel imbalance. This should be corrected by transferring fuel with the engine feed knob on the fuel control panel before landing. Fuel is automatically balanced under normal conditions, so this should be very rare. Press spacebar to continue. Next, verify the landing light switch is in the up landing position. This will make your aircraft easier to see by the tower controllers or other pilots near the airfield, and provide illumination you need in dark conditions. Also, set the master arm and laser arm switches to off to save the weapon systems. Press spacebar to continue. Something is going down in September, something is going down in August. So those are the 2 big months apparently. Because I think now verify your attitude references match. A pitch and roll attitude on your HUD, the ADI and standby ADI should agree. Left click the standby ADI knob to cage and uncage with recalibration as necessary. Then on the altimeter, verify the current airfield altimeter setting of 2992 is set. You can rotate the pressure setting knob with the mouse wheel to select a new setting if it becomes necessary. Also, verify the altitude displayed on the HUD matches the altitude on the altimeter in both the electrical and pneumatic altimeter modes within plus or minus 75 feet. So set the altimeter back to electric mode when you're done, and press spacebar to continue. Next, stow the targeting pod camera if installed, selecting the targeting pod control page on the MFD and selecting standby. This is done prior to takeoff and landing to prevent foreign object damage to components. We have no pod installed for this lesson, so press spacebar to continue. A 2.5-degree glide slope is standard for an F-16 final approach. To measure your glide slope angle, reference the flight path marker on the HUD in relation to the pitch ladder. Now when you're ready, press spacebar and I'll unpause the lesson. After the lesson is unpaused, reduce your throttle and fly through the gates ahead. I'll talk you through the approach as we go. Verify your airspeed is below 300 knots. Lower the landing gear by moving the landing gear control handles down. Do this by clicking on the handle or pressing the G key. The trailing edge flaps will automatically lower as the gear extends. Once the gear and flaps are down, check that all 3 wheels down lights are illuminated green on the left side of the instrument panel, next to the gear handle. This confirms the landing gear are down and locked. An additional pitch ladder at 2.5 degrees will be added to the HUD when the landing gear are extended. Your on-glide slope when both the 2.5-degree pitch ladder and flight path marker are placed at the end of the runway. Press spacebar to continue. Now, open the speed brakes using the switch on your throttle, and increase throttle to maintain speed if necessary. The slightly higher throttle setting required with the increased drag from the speed brakes will keep you from constantly bumping against the idle stop on approach. This is also one less thing you'll have to remember to do after touchdown. Press spacebar to continue. Which leads me over into the next topic at hand here, which shout outs to Kilos and Peace in the chat and everything. Shout outs, man. Thank you so much for supporting the show and being part of the show. So, okay, and there were rumors saying that, yeah, we're not going to get a direct anytime soon until September or so. But yeah, according to this credible leaker, like I said, Kelos, he's actually inside of the show here. So if you see him tickling around, say hi, say what's up to him. He's a very credible guy. Now, this article is saying that this is according to insider Kelos, who suggested on recent Air Reform this weekend that the Nintendo Direct could take place on Monday, July 20th. Hey,
on July 20th. Now, July 20th, the week of the 20th, is going to be huge because Microsoft, we know they have their Xbox Series X first party showcase on the 23rd. And then in that same week, Microsoft, I think they have some sort of game demo situation that they're going to be doing as well, where they're going to be dropping demos left and right. So that whole week, if this is true, and this guy do have a good track record, so yeah, we'll see if July 20th is going to be the day for a full Nintendo Direct. I'm really hyped, cannot wait to see what's in the pipeline for Nintendo, because yeah, they've been very quiet, and a lot of people are saying that the Switch is dead. Yeah, if anything, the Xbox is dead. Like, the Xbox One is dead at this point. Not Nintendo. Because, like I said, once they drop a Direct, once they start, picking up steam and start showing what they got for 2020, lines are going to be blowing. So, we'll see exactly if this is going to go down on the 20th. Now, told y'all we have things for the boys in red today. Nintendo hints features coming to Nintendo Switch 2. And come on, man. Every time when a company makes one particular system, they already plan for the next one in advance, or they have a concept or an idea for the next one. So we know another Switch or another Nintendo console is coming out. Now, we don't know if it's going to be a next-gen Nintendo console or what have you, but we heard rumors saying that Nintendo is in talks with Samsung regarding the screen. Man, Samsung right now can do no wrong. They're about to drop that Note 20 Plus, and Samsung actually makes screens for Apple, like for their iPhones and such. So Samsung is one of the leading companies when it comes to like screens, TVs, phones, and stuff like that. So apparently they're in talks, and I'm telling you, man, Samsung got the best TVs, best phones. I mean, as far as like the color, vibrant and stuff, the OLED TVs. I mean, it's just insane, right? So the fact that Nintendo is in talks, apparently from that rumor that we've been getting, we'll see what happens on that one. So at Nintendo's 80th annual general meeting of shareholders, Nintendo President Satoru Iwata and Director of Shata, were asked about the future of console. Now, both agrees of what is to come next from the next Nintendo console. Now, what to expect from the new console? And could you tell us about the outlook for your next game system? And this is what they have to say. Game hardware has always displayed the image on a TV or other kind of something, and I think
Welcome to the Game Center. This speed is the on-speed and overtime. The one in the door. The speed away about the best approach speed and handle appropriateness in your work. Use the throttle to adjust the speed and glide path, and pitch torque for just your AOA. 2 or 3 clicks of nose-up trim or the trim head on your stick will help maintain you near 11 degrees. As a guide, place the flight path marker on the HUD at the top of the AOA bracket on the HUD. The bracket ranges from 11 degrees at the top to 15 degrees at the bottom. The AOA index will last you left the HUD frame with different At this point, you should be on speed and on velocity. You can actually fix that on the track and the flight path marker whenever you want. It's the most challenging part coming up, so you can try again if things don't go exactly as planned. For now, though, you own your approach.
That's like Sony saying, you know what, man, we're going to stop making consoles. We're going back to the Are you insane? How terrible it is sold? Come on, bro. Like, Nvidia is a great system, but
Yeah, well, you do some things. Did you there though?
Americas is the same way. It's the exact same way all over the Americas. That look is the same all over the Americas. And there's nothing that you can do to change that. Now, can you slant it to where more black women or chocolate women get preferred? Sure. But for the most all of these guys had 80s and stuff like that. Like T. Higgins, had he gone to like my theory is if T. Higgins would have went to, let's say, the Chiefs or the Patriots, without a doubt he would have came out and gate 79, 80 or something. Because he's on the Bengals, I think they probably give him a 74 at the highest or something crazy like that.
Actually, I was quite wrong. And I remember Joe Mixon being so
Today
high.
we're going to
Joe
start
Mixon
dropping
was
some
79.
unguided bombs.
So when Joe
These
Mixon
can be
came
delivered
into
in several
Madden,
different modes, but
in
in this
Madden
lesson we'll
18,
look at
he
the
was a
continuously
79. So he
computed
was rated
impact
higher
point,
than Joe
or
Burrow.
CCIP values.
Number
We'll
one
also
overall. I
look
mean,
at the
he ran in
store's
a
management
position,
set, or
but
SMS
he
page on the
was
NFD,
rated
and cover
79.
items there that apply to all
But
bomb
I feel what you're saying.
We have
For
three
me,
BDU-33
I'm definitely
unguided
some
training
retiring
bombs
myself.
loaded
The
on
only
turrets on
reason that I
Station
keep Madden
387,
at
for a
all
total of
is to really
6.
just do those
These
simulations
replicate
to
the
see the
ballistics
updates
of
and
a
stuff
Mark
like that.
82, or equipped
Because
with
like when
spotting
you get to
sharks
these
so you
slow
can see
seasons,
their
you just really
impact
don't
on the
have
ground. I have the resin
I don't
paused,
like.
ready to roll in on targets to our left. First though, let's set the aircraft up for the attack. Press spacebar to continue. First, press the air-to-ground master mode button on the ICP. This configures the fire control system and displays for air-to-ground attack. The radar is displayed on the left MFD, and the SMS page is displayed on the right MFD. Next, verify the master arm switch is in the arm position. This allows weapons to be released normally. If the master arm switch is placed in the off position, the weapon's release is inhibited. The third, simulate position, allows training with all indications you get with the switching arm, but no weapons are released. Now let's look at the right MFD and the SMS page. The top left shows the operating mode, air to ground, and submode, CCIP. The submode may be changed by depressing the adjacent OSB and selecting new submode from the menu. And you may also depress the missile step button on your stick to cycle through available modes. Try it now if you would like, but set it back to CCIP for the remainder of the lesson. Press spacebar to continue. The right side of the display shows the selected weapons and details about how they'll be released. You can see that we have 6 BDU-33s loaded. If other air-to-ground weapons are loaded, they can be selected by pressing the adjacent OSB until their source curve will be displayed. Just below that, we have the weapons release profile, with Profile 1 selected by default. Selecting the adjacent OSB cycles between two options, Profile 1 and Profile 2. These include typical settings for delivery mode, fuse arming option, release pulses, impact spacing, and release interval. Changes to settings made when a profile is selected are saved there for later use. These should typically be set or verified as part of aircraft startup, although they can be changed at any time. We'll work with Profile 1, it's already set up for CCIP delivery. Press spacebar to continue. The next 3 options will make more sense taken out of order. Let's start at the bottom with the release pulse, or RP setting. This sets the number of release pulses sent to the weapon stations when the weapon's release button on the stick is depressed. For example, a setting of 1 sends 1 pulse at a time. A setting of 4 sends 4 pulses at a time. More than 1 pulse is known as a ripple release. To change the setting, depress the OSB, type in the desired number of release pulses using the OSBs on the left and right of the display, then select Enter. You can correct numbers entered in error by selecting Recon, or return to the SMS page without making any changes by selecting Return. For now, leave this set to 1 so we release 1 bomb at a time. Press spacebar to continue. Next, we can set the desired release interval if more than 1 bomb is to be released. The timing between release pulses is computed by the aircraft, spaced
Hey,
over
Mom, it's me.
weapons and
Yeah, I'll be
stick
over
along
there
the ground at
about
the
9
specified
o'clock.
distance, ranging
I've got
from
an
10
interview
to
at
999 feet.
1:30,
Again,
so
this
that's
is
what
changed
I'll
by
do.
selecting
Okay,
the OSB,
bye-bye.
typing in the new impact spacing distance using the OSBs
Hello?
on the left and right of the display, then
Yeah, I
selecting
was just leaving
engine.
a message.
This
Yeah,
setting has no
I'll come
effect
by and
if
get the
only
car
one
tomorrow,
bomb
but
or
about
one
the same
barrel
time.
bombs is released.
I've got an
So
interview
let's
at
leave
1
that
o'clock
default
at
of 10
Box
feet.
Stop.
Press
So
space
as
bar
her
to
son
continue.
works there, and he's 16, and of course they're going back to school. So
Then above that, we
Gonna
have the
interview
option to
him
release
about
bombs either
1:30.
singly or in pairs.
This
With
right up here
single
by the post
selected
office,
bombs will be released
they
from
just
only
they
one
mail
station.
letters and stuff
With
like
pair
that, and have
selected bombs
boxes
will
in
be
there that
released
people buy.
symmetrically from opposite
It's like a
stations,
shipping
so
store.
identical bombs are loaded
It's
on
right
both
next to the post
sides.
office in
The number
Lansdowne.
of release pulses is also shown
So
next
I
to
don't know
the
if I'll
single
get it,
pair
but
option,
it's
although that's information
the same
it
job.
was already set with the RP OSB below. For this lesson, let's leave it set to single.
No,
Release
no,
one
no,
bomb
no,
on one
I should be
side
back
at a time. Press space bar
around
to continue.
11:30 or 12.
Then on the left side, we have the bomb fusing option.
Okay.
This setting makes
If
sense
it's
when you
not raining,
consider
give me
the
a little
bombs
time.
are usually equipped with two fuses,
If it's
one
not
on the
raining,
nose
okay,
and one on
okay,
the tail.
that's it.
Selecting the adjacent OSB cycles between three options: nose, tail, and nose tail. This is typically set to nose tail for redundancy unless a specific
Okay, yeah, I
effect
talked to
unique
him
to
today.
one fuse or the other is desired when the weapon detonates. There are also some special
No,
cases
he
where
did
the
not.
fuse option
I talked
changes
to him
how
this
the weapon
morning.
behaves after release. For example, setting nose for a Mark 82 air
Okay.
or Snake Eye high drag
Alright.
bomb releases it in a low drag configuration.
Yeah, that's
While
a two
setting
versus
tail or nose tail
Okay.
releases it in a high drag configuration.
Alright, I'll see you in the
And
morning.
similarly, setting
Okay.
nose for
Alright,
CU-87 and 97 causes bomblets to dispense very shortly after release, while selecting nose tail uses the dispense settings displayed on the MFD. This will all make more sense once we get into some different weapons configurations and see exactly what this does. Let's leave it set to nose tail for now. Press spacebar to continue. Well, that covers the SMS and FD options typical for all unguided bombs. So now let's look at some unique elements of the HUD that apply to CCIP bomb. Running from the bottom of the flight path marker is the bomb follow line. This will be used as an alignment aid to stay lined up with the target when you're making a bombing run. Then at the bottom of the line is the CCIP pipper. This is the computed bomb impact point. The CCIP bombing mode can be described as simply putting the pipper on the target and pressing the weapon release button on the stick. And of course, the hard part is developing the techniques required to consistently get into the correct position to make that happen. Press spacebar to continue. Now, moving back up the bomb follow line, you'll see a small horizontal bar. This is the time delay cue. It's visible whenever the CCIP pipper is outside the HUD field of view. The distance this bar is from the bottom of the HUD is the same distance the CCIP pipper is below the HUD. So as you dive, the key will drop down the bomb follow line until it reaches the bottom of the HUD, and that's when the CCIP pipper appears. A second post-designated CCIP technique may be used when the pipper is still outside the HUD, but that will be covered briefly in the next lesson. Press spacebar to continue. Not shown yet, but very important, is the pull-up anticipation cue. This is a stable shaped symbol that provides a visual representation of the altitude required for the bomb fuse to arm, or the altitude to initiate a pull-up to avoid impacting the ground, whichever is most immediate. It moves up towards the flight path marker as the aircraft loses altitude. Releasing the bomb with the flight path marker below the cue will not give the bomb time to arm and will result in a dive. Watch for it as we make our attack, but it should not be encountered in this lesson as you're much too low. Press spacebar to continue. Now that we've covered the basics, it's time to roll in on the target. Look about 45 degrees to the left, just above the canopy rail. You'll see the target marked with red smoke. The goal is to place the CCIP pipper on that spot and pickle off your bomb by pressing the weapons release button on your stick. Now, this is a deep subject, and there are many techniques for getting to the proper point, but I'll describe one way of doing it that you may find useful. Press spacebar to continue. I just marked the point 2,000 feet in front of the target with green smoke. We'll call that the aim-off distance. When the lesson is on pause, I want you to bank left and pull the flight path marker to a spot on the ground that far ahead of the target. The aim-off distance you choose sets the conditions of release, so this is the most important step to get right. Close to the target results in a steeper dive, lower release altitude, and more time to track the target, while choosing a point further away shallows out the dive, increases the release altitude, but provides less tracking time. I've chosen a relatively close point of 2,000 feet to give us plenty of time to track the target on the way down. There's no hard and fast rule here. When the flight path marker is at the aim-off distance, leave it there and focus on the bomb fall line. Align the bomb fall line with the target and make small bank corrections with the stick to keep it there. Then, the CCIP pipper tracks up the bomb fall line towards the target. You never want to fly the pipper to the target or hold it on the target using forward stick. Wait for the pipper to intersect the target naturally and release the bomb. After release, you'll fly a safe escape maneuver to avoid the bomb fragmentation. Now, there are many options, but you can't go wrong with a 5G pull-up to a 30-degree climb. Now press spacebar when you're ready to unpause and give it a shot. I will talk you through it as we go. Okay, bank left and pull the flight path marker down to the aim-off distance. Now align the bomb fall line with the target. Use the smoothest control inputs you can manage. The CCIP pipper should be tracking up the bomb fall line to the target. Pick it when it's over the target. Okay, ripping away. Hold up to a 30-degree climb to avoid the frag. Worry about looking for threats, not following the bomb. Okay, let's see how we did. Look for the white smoke that marks the BDU-33's impact point. Don't worry if it's a little off. We have 5 more loaded, 4 targets to practice on. When you're done, press escape to end the lesson.